Sunset Slayer by Penstroke. Final chapter. Quesadilla. Sunset squirmed in her seat, the awkward silence of the car itching at her skin. He had beaten the master. Her friends were safe from the vampire curse. Yet, this didn't mean they were out of the woods. Crystal Prep was a mess, and any real investigation into the matter would likely bring the police to Caroline High. Twilight made the hard decision to call the principals. It would ride to the school in under 30 minutes, thanks to an absence of traffic and probably some excessive speeding. The other group was split, three of them being taken back to Canterlot High by Principal Celestia. Sunset and Fluttershy were in their car so they could recover at the library. Spike was hunched over in the back. He wasn't injured, but a single picture of a werewolf at Crystal Prep or anywhere in the city would draw unwanted attention. They were on the freeway now, zipping along the other anti-school carpool lane, passing a few other cars that were out such late at an hour. Sunset glanced back at the clock and winced as he saw it was nearing 3. Skated to the point where she needed to start thinking about the next morning instead of the previous night. I'm going to want a detailed report of what happened at the end of the day, Principal Celestia said, her words almost making Sunset wish the awkward silence continued. Yes, ma'am, Fluttershy, Sunset said. And it's going to take the whole truth, right, Sunset? Sunset's hand reached up and grabbed her seatbelt. The principals knew about the bracelet. Principal Luna had gotten their permission first, before even bringing it over from Equestria. They hadn't been keen on the idea, for understandable reasons, but they agreed with the princess's logic. Yes, ma'am, Sunset said, before she glanced over her shoulder and nodded to Fluttershy. It would be better if both their reports were the entire truth. All right. I suppose that's all I can ask at this point. The serious tone in the principal's voice lightened. She took a moment to glance back at them, before putting her eyes back on the road. I'm glad you're all safe. The absolute last thing I want to do is to go explain to someone's parents that their daughter died fighting magic monsters. I've had that nightmare more than enough times to know there is no good way about it. Yes, ma'am! That time, all three of them, Spike adding their voice. The principal sighed and pressed a button on the driver's side door and cracked the windows. The cool morning air began to blow in as the car continued along the freeway. I know what happened back there was none of your fault. You were doing your very best, and we can't ask for more. We all knew that someday we might have to deal with an entity that will at least sow collateral damage. This is a war, and sooner or later something is going to get wrecked during the course of a battle. But this is more than just one broken window. Fluttershy put her hands on the back of Celestia's seat, leaned forward, putting her head between the principal and Sunset. Principal Sitz is going to call the police when she sees all the damage, and I don't think Dean Cadence can cover for us. That's why the others are staying behind with Luna, to try and clean things up as best they can. But I don't think we have to worry about the police too much this time. Principal Celestia's words were encouraging, but Sunset noticed a frown trying to form on her face at the very end. Why? Do you remember the lab equipment you found in school? Crystal Prep may have a budget, but even they couldn't afford that kind of hardware. That, Principal Sitz would never be able to explain the budget items to the school's parent committee. No, someone else paid for all that, and I doubt that someone will want the police to report us swimming to school. Spike leaned forward in his seat now, muzzle popping over the top of Sunset's seat as his claws grasped the sides. That's good, right? It means any lingering damage will likely be blamed on faceless vandals. Celestia's hand found a turn signal and began to move across the freeway as their exit drew near. But it means we'll have to be more careful as well. Someone else is investigating the portals to Equestria. Someone with money to find the research, to the expertise to keep it covert, and the power to keep the local police from digging too deep. You make it sound like some secret government agency, Sunset said as the car exited the freeway. You could see Canterlot high over the top of the guardrails. At the sunset, it never looked so quiet and inviting. Wanted nothing more than thus pass out on her bed. That very may be one of the possibilities, but we won't worry about it right now. I need to drop you off and then head back to Crystal Prep. Celestia gently pressed on the brake, bringing the car to a stop at the red light at the end of the off-ramp. She took the opportunity to turn in her seat and look at the three passengers. But in case it gets lost in the shuffle over the next few days, I want to save this. I am proud of how hard you all fought to save your friends. Though things got messy, you should still be happy that you were able to do that much. Sunset nodded her head, even letting herself smile a little. The rest of the card writing was passed with few words. Principal Celestia dropped them off. They made their way to the library. Sunset was first through the door. When she put on the light, she was never happier to see her bed. She stumbled forward towards it and flopped down, her head dropping against the pillow. Briefly, her mind tried to grasp at the thought that her fatigue might have been caused by the bracelet. That thought, however, faded to nothingness as her eyelids slid shut. Exhaustion overcame her, and Sunset passed into a dreamless, serene sleep. Sunset slept like the dead until her senses were roused by the activity in the library. Her ears heard quiet footsteps and hushed whispers. On top of that, her nose was teased by tantalizing smells which were too alluring to ignore. Sunset sat up, rubbing her eyes before looking down at the bed. She fumbled over her pants pocket, having fallen asleep in her clothes, and pulled out her phone. It was a few minutes past noon. Hey! Look us up and wake in time for brunch. Sunset glanced up from her phone, finally taking notice of the fact that she was far from her home alone in her room. Fluttershy and Spike had been there when she went to sleep, but now the others had arrived at the library. She also saw the source of that smell that was making her stomach rumble. A feast of a breakfast. Pancakes, eggs, toast, and a few gallons of orange juice that were spread out on the kitchen table, laid out at a veritable buffet. With the kitchen table occupied, the others were eating on the other side of the room. Spike, who was still a werewolf, was lying down, sitting on the floor, using Twilight's desk to hold his piles of glass of wire. Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, and Applejack were seated around the coffee table. Lastly, Pinkie Pie was in the kitchen, cooking what looked like to be the last of the pancake batter. What are you all doing here? Sunset asked as he looked around the room, not yet having the motivation to actually get out of bed. I actually finished cleaning up a crystal prep. Principal Celestia brought us back here, while Vice Principal Luna took Rarity and Twilight back into the city. Applejack said as he picked up another bite of her fork. We all had a long night, but you and Fluttershy had it the worst. So we decided to head back to our homes, get some sleep, then cook up a big old breakfast for everyone. Late, and we figured Spike probably wouldn't want to be eating his kibble this morning. Just for the record, I will have eaten my kibble, Spike said, taking a few bits of egg stuck to his face. The only way he knew how to eat was to put his face in it. This is really good, though. Like, twice as good as my kibble. The girls stared and giggled as Fluttershy got up from her seat. You stay in bed and rest a bit longer. I'll make you a plate. What would you like to drink? Sunset felt like it would be a little strange to be eating in bed while her friends were at the coffee table. Still, her motivation to move was minimal. Breakfast in bed sounded wonderful after the night they had. Thanks. Don't suppose there's any coffee? I went and got you your favorite from the coffee shop, Pinkie Pie says. He flicked the pan, tossing the last pancake into the air and catching it expertly. It's in the thermos on the table. Hey, while you're up, Fluttershy, can you make some more eggs? Spike gasped, before licking his latest plate clean. Isn't that going to be like your fourth serving? Rainbow Dash asked, with a mouthful of pancake. Well, he's built like a linebacker now. Won't be surprised if he's got an appetite to match, Applejack said, before nudging Rainbow a little. If anyone wants to be watching what they eat, it's you. Why's that? Rainbow asked with a scowl. Applejack shrugged, though she had a playful grin on her face. Because you won't fit in that little black dress, don't you? Rainbow's face turned red, and pointed her fork at Applejack. I'm going to be cut dead in that! Besides, Verity was going to burn all those vampire clothes. Yeah. Applejack said with a nod, picked up and put a bit of her toast. Unless, of course, I told her to save a few of the outfits. After all, mine wasn't too bad once I ripped the poofy sleeves off, and Pinkie Pie's was practically a Halloween costume. That one didn't show any skin at all. I know, Pinkie Pie called from the kitchen. She deposited the last pancake on her makeshift buffet. It was a perfect costume. She then proceeded to stick her arms out in front of her and hop towards the sink using her ankles. I'd love to be a tiny topic vampire this year. Besides, Applejack said as he picked up her glass of apple juice, doesn't you think a certain fast captain of the football team might lack the drinks? What? No, he wouldn't! I'm not wearing it! Sunset couldn't help but cover her face in a feeble attempt to contain her laughter. Applejack's teasing of Rainbow continued, but Sunset's attention was drawn to Fluttershy. She was holding a perfectly plated meal. 3 pancakes, a sensible serving of eggs, and 2 triangles of toast rested on a plate while she carried the thermos of coffee under her arm. Sunset reached out and put her hands on the plate. Thanks, Fluttershy. You're welcome, Fluttershy said with a smile. She took the thermos from under her arm and set it down on the bed.
Now, be careful not to spill. I think the last thing any of us wants to make the trip to the laundromat.
Yeah, I can't say I look forward to that, Sunset said. So she did not reach for the thermos. Instead, her voice got low and quiet enough that only Fluttershy could hear it. Have you told the others what really happened? Fluttershy gently shook her head.
Not my secret to tell.
And are you okay with knowing? Fluttershy didn't answer quickly, her eyes wandering downward for a moment. Then she turned and sat down on the edge of the bed. She unscrewed the lid of the thermos, turned it over, and began to pour some of the coffee into the cup lid.
The master might have killed me if you didn't do what you did. How can I be mad about that?
Because it's, you know. Fluttershy finished pouring the coffee and held out the cup lid as Sunset.
It was scary. I was worried we had lost you. But you changed back. That's what's important.
Well, it helped that you had a friend nearby, Sunset said as she took a cup of coffee. With both her hands occupied, she shifted in the bed, getting her legs out from under the blanket. She got her feet onto the ground, her feet finding her slippers. She stood up, stretching a little before looking back at Fluttershy. Come on, I'd rather eat with everyone else. Fluttershy nodded, standing up and following Sunset back towards the coffee table. It was a little crowded with all of them clustered around a single short, small table. Sunset ended up having to swag the pillow off her bed and use it as a cushion to sit on the floor. Still, she was smiling and happy. They hadn't got Dracula, but last night had still been a win. Haiti was stopped and their friends were saved. As Principal Celestia sat in the car. That's what mattered most. Now, if only they could figure out what to do with Spike. Celestia, my dear, what do I owe the pleasure? Oh, and don't tell me you've already had a few jewels I can add to my collection. Principal Celestia stepped through the front door to Mr. Cord's manor as he held the door behind her. He was an older-looking gentleman who liked to dress in very outdated styles. It was never the same style, but it was also nothing that came from any recent trend. That morning, he was in tan slacks, a white button-down shirt, brown vest, and was wearing a red ascot, and one of the shirt sleeves was rolled up to his elbow. His hair was his usually mixture of white and black. He waggled his bushy eyebrows to her as he spoke, also seeing his mismatched, colorful socks clashing with his black shoes. We had an incident at Crystal Prep last night, Celestia said as she turned to face him. The foyer to the mansion was perhaps the least chaotic room in the whole place. All the other rooms were choked with collectibles from all over the world, but precious and mundane, even from where she stood. Celestia could see his prized collection of Pez dispensers sitting next to exemplary canopic jars in the neighboring room. An incident? My, doesn't that sound ominous? Can I offer you some tea? Will take but a minute to boil some water. Cord made a sleeping motion with both arms, gesturing to the kitchen. Celestia raised her hand and shook her head. No, I need to get back and talk with the princesses of Equestria. We've got a werewolf we have to try and hide now. Before that, however, I need to tell you something. While the girls took care of the entity at Crystal Pep, they found something else. There was a portal there, and lab equipment that had been set at the stuffing. I looked at the equipment, David. It may be more advanced than I remember, but I never forget the design aesthetic. That means General T-Rex is sniffing around. You do know how to ruin a pleasant morning, Celestia, David said as he let his arms fall to his side. This side he brought up his hand to stroke his goatee. To think, all these years you and Luna have managed to stay under their radar after going rogue. It's a portal to another world that would blow your cover. Even I wouldn't have taken that wager, though I'm surprised your little troop of girls haven't started poking around. I mean, your counterparts in Equestria are powerful, eternally youthful princesses, David said, bringing his hand to his head and using his index finger to approximate a unicorn horn. Compared to them, being just the principals of a high school does seem so mundane, doesn't it, aged son? It's not about me and Luna anymore, Celestia said, trying to keep her tone pleasant, though there were undertones of irritation. We were all in deep trouble if they get any closer to this. We need to know where they are so we can stay ahead of them. Yes. If there is one thing that David Ichabod Samuel Cord is good at, it's sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. In fact, I had something that was going to send your way. Clever, Pen! Real clever! David moved to a small table in the foyer of his manor. On which was sitting a manila envelope. He picked it up and turned and walked back to Celestia. I heard an interesting rumor about a new student principal since he was procured from another prep school. I go to the country club with the husband of the other school's principal. According to him, that's all his darling life is complaining about these days. Her brightest student offered a full ride scholarship and some unknown amount of grant money to transfer. It was all because of some project at Crystal Prep had been abandoned when another transfer student got out. Celestia took the folder and looked at the papers inside. There were numerous records of the student in question, but the picture was clipped to the front of her body and made tense. I was on a paperclip and held it to her face. We always wondered where she was, who she was. Davis nodded. Yes, it seems Principal Since recruited her specifically because of the resemblance. She's just as brilliant as well. Perhaps not as much as Twilight, but she's much more hands-on. You should see the summer internship she's taken. Though I imagine if things had gone down at Crystal Prep, she might not be there anymore. General T-Rex isn't one to let valuable assets slip away, especially the smart ones. Celestia put the picture back in the folder and tucked it under her arm. Thank you, David. Please give me a call if you find out anything more. Of course, Celestia. Please give the girls my best. He says he watched her turn and start walking back to his door. And maybe next time we'll actually enjoy a spot of tea before trying to outmaneuver a secret government organization. I have some lovely tea cakes, as well as a perfect espionage or a board game luncheon. You know, I do so love playing around with Discord. I certainly do. So, how did your family take the news? Sunset asked, as he and Twilight worked in the library. They were sitting cross-legged near the coffee table, working on a large piece of girdled paper. It was too big for anywhere else except the coffee table and kitchen table. They needed to keep the kitchen table clear, for the dinner was soon to arrive. Well, there was a lot of screaming at first. Twilight adjusted the ruler so he had laid down near the table, before using it to draw out a line on the paper. Shiny grabbed an umbrella as a weapon, while my father grabbed our coat rack. They're still skeptical about all the crazy stuff Cadence and I told them, and they weren't happy I was putting myself in danger. Cadence, however, really helped explain how important it was. That, and we may have underplayed how long this was happening. So, you're not grounded? Sunset asked as she jotted down some numbers on the other side of the page. Oh, no, I've been grounded for the first time ever, Twilight said with a hollow laugh. Can't stay here at night for about 2 weeks, and my parents are looking at me a home lab in our garden shed at home. They say I can still help if you girls really need, but required that the principals have to call them first. Think of it this way, it could be worse. Sunset said, before hearing a key slipping into the lock of the door. She smiled and stood up, brushing out a few wrinkles over her skirt as the door to the library opened. The food has arrived, Spike said as he came through the door. In the days after the Crystal Prep incident, they had gotten in contact with Equestria about Spike's werewolf problem. Okay, what we need to do is simply find the werewolf that did it and have Spike kill him. It's a very easy task. I mean, I've seen it work before. Twice. Ew, are we going to get to the Harry problem too? Trixie's been waiting for you to get to that sequel. True. At the same time, keeping Spike locked in the library like a prisoner was too cruel, since they couldn't simply drain or suppress his magic without putting his new intelligent mind at risk. It was a complicated puzzle to solve. Cluster's brightest minds, including Princess Twilight, were working on a long-term solution. In the short term, they suggested some concealing clothing and provided an enchanted scarf. Spike set down the bags of food in the kitchen before lifting a hand to his scarf. His entire body was hidden from head to toe. Each article of clothing, tailored by rarity, obscured his lupine form. Sandals obscured his paws, and extra baggy pants used the unique shape of his legs. A hoodie covered most of his head and upper torso, and he wore gloves for his hands. The final piece of the enchanted scarf wrapped around his muzzle, somehow managed to flatten and hide his long, canine snout. Sunset hadn't figured out if it was a mental distortion charm or a dust and illusion spell. There was no arguing with the results. With all that clothing, and as long as Spike only went out at night, he looked like a very tall, beefy person that had no tolerance for the cold.
Did the delivery driver give you any trouble?
Twilight asked as he drew a few final lines in the paper. Nah, he was cool, Spike said as he pulled off his scarf, his muzzle reappearing out of the folds of the fabric. He even asked if I was a famous football player or something. I told him I was more into bodybuilding. He took the money and the tip and drove off. Sunset chuckled a little as he came up beside the kitchen table, drawn by the smell of food he had ordered. After the crystal prep incident a few days ago, and Spike clearing out the kitchen one evening, he had been enjoying some of the local area's finest takeout until a proper grocery run could be made.
Well, I suppose that's exactly what would happen. So, which bag is yours?
Spike finished taking off his gloves and slipped them into his hoodie's pockets, grabbed the heftier of the two bags. These are mine. The two salads, Twilight's enchilada, and your quesadilla are in the other one. Spike took a few steps to the kitchen, plopped down on the floor, and began to rummage in his bag for his first taco.
Come on, Twilight. You want to eat before Sunny comes back to pick you up, don't you?
Sunset said as he began to set out her portion of the meal.
Just a second and done.
Twilight tapped her pencil against the paper, dotting one final line before smiling, standing up and walking towards the table. Spike opened his maw and ate half of his first taco in one bite. It chewed a few times, swallowed, and then spoke as he prepared for another bite. What have you two been working on anyway? Doesn't look like your regular homework. Twilight sat down, set the foil-wrapped enchilada onto the inside, then took the lid off her salad.
It's some plans for a few renovations to the library. The principals petitioned the princesses about it. In the end, they all agreed that we could use some more space. If only so you're more comfortable, Spike. Sunset and I were just roughing out the idea we had. There's no proper blueprint since I couldn't get a copy of the school's plans off the internet. But I think it's a good starting point for any architect.
A new library. This fanfic series was a lot better back when it had the old library.
We might have made it too ambitious, but it's but it's probably better if we start big and work our way around smaller based on the budget.
Sunset set her salad to one side to eat the second and focused on the bog in front of her. She cracked it open, smiling as the tantalizing aroma tickled her nose. She reached down a hand, taking the first bite of the quesadilla, and lifting it into her mouth. Long strands of cheese stretched and snapped, and Sunset bit down. She smiled as the flavor danced on her tongue. She couldn't help but notice Twilight cringing from the other side of the table.
What?
Sunset asked, covering her mouth a little, since he was speaking through her food.
Nothing,
Twilight said, forcing her eyes to the salad. Sunset found it odd, but she shrugged and took another bite of her quesadilla. As she did, her eyes wandered the room, trying to picture some of the changes she and Twilight were hoping to make to the library. The little operation would be expanding, but it would be for everyone's benefit. There were still portals that needed to be sealed. As long as there were portals, new entities would come into existence. They also hadn't forgotten about Dracula either. Almost had rarity referring out to the Master's defeat, giving everyone renewed hope that Fluttershy would be freed of her own curse, if they could just find Dracula. Sunset took another bite, smiling and nodding her head. She didn't know what the future would hold, or if they hadn't unleashed another sea demon again. But she did know that, as long as she and her friends stayed together, they would succeed in their mission. They'd protect the human world and keep Equestria's existence a secret. After all, what could be worse than a prisoner of Tartarus coming through a portal?
Cue the end credits and the end. This fic?
It's pen stroke, it's fun.
It's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's a great little ride to have. If I had any complaints, it would be I feel like Piggy Pie got the serious short end of the stick in this whole freaking story. She had about one scene. One little scene. One scene dedicated to her, and then after that, bye now. Whoop. Toodles. Gonna see you later. I'm gonna have to play with Ribby. Take me with you. I feel like Piggy Pie did get the love that she deserved. Everything else, though, was pretty good. I love the fact that this whole entire introduction felt like a two-parter beginning to a series. It's not hard to see why. You got everything you needed to set it up. You have a quick introduction to the basis of the characters, which allows more room for growth. You have an introduction to the setting, to what's going on, to what everybody's doing, to their abilities, to the characterizations, and the plot. And you even got a good star villain in the Master to help set the tone of probably future fights to come, or even what certain sword fights are to come. It really helps establish a status quo that is right for the undertaking, right for the growth. Heck, even the ending also is appropriate, as it also gives us a chance to explore future events. While this is a one shot, this feels like a really interesting one shot that I personally wouldn't mind if it did become a TV series on its own. Complete with the Buffy Vampire Slayer theme. God, I love that opening. This story was also great in the characterizations. Everybody was in character, nobody was really flanderized, and everybody had a chance to shine except for Pinky. Applejack got to show off her strength and what she would be like as a vampire. And I love Rarity as a vampire, taking her fascination qualities and amping it up to 11. Not to mention her ladylike and more qualities. It's a shame Rarity lost that outfit. I would have loved to see her more in that. Oh! Sorry. Now you go sit over there in the corner and think about what you said. Yes, Lady Rarity. Sunset was also great as always. A redeemer, a character dealing with both sides of the coin, and a character that has to face her darkest moments. I love the use of the item, and it worked really well to start off with something brand new, something that could establish and furthermore it takes it to the status quo. Again, this whole setup just feels like it's an opening to a grander, bigger, and even brighter adventure, just waiting for us to explore. Heck, they even got somebody popping up like Gerald T-Rex to make it instead of a feeling of ominous. So yeah, the story, pretty dang good and a great read. Next time, Princess Luna, if you please. You don't think we forgot about an adventure for little Piggy Pie, now do you? uh, coming soon next time, this Saturday, we have a little interesting adventure for the pink one that involves her seeing that sometimes not all gifts from outer space are pleasant. Next time, Little Sugar Shop of Horrors by Penstroke. See you there.